that's going to make for either one of the greatest SEC tournaments ever, or maybe guys go, hey, we don't want to get anybody hurt. We saw what happened when Michael Hand logged in last year, and it ruined Florida's, postseason, and we want to rest guys. I don't know that happens. I don't know that they don't come out and just play hard and try to win a trophy. But I'm curious what'll happen there in Nashville.
I think the competitive juices will get the best of everybody. I mean, I remember, I remember the old Coach K quote, if they're giving out a trophy, we want to win it, and I like that competitive fire and spirit. And I think you'll see that from most, because the coaches in the SEC, I think take great pride in being able to lord it over their peers if they win. If Auburn finishes off the regular season, which it should, they would love to complete the sweep, and say that they won both, and leave no doubt that they are the best team in the best conference. Florida, if Florida were to play Auburn, say, in the championship game, I mean, how much would the Gators want to be able to put a net in the trophy case and say, oh, you think you're the best team? We beat you twice, once neutral, once at your place. Sure. So, I think there will be enough of that gets things going. And then some of the other teams you mentioned, A&M kind of needs to get right. Georgia probably needs to not face plant. And, Tennessee, home state, I've questioned their offense, even though I've got great admiration for them. They'd love to hush up anybody who's doing that. So I think it's going to be a wildly competitive environment, and there will probably be somebody coming from sort of back in the pack to make a run in Nashville, I would suspect.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley studio. Let's just call it that, but it's still a Gator studio. That's why there's a Gator helmet up there, and I'm wearing my Florida Golf sweatshirt, so I won't show Rece Davis that I'm wearing that. But Rece is going to be our guest today. I'm excited about that. Always love talking to him. I know he's been really busy, but of course he's going to be in Gainesville this weekend, and we look forward to that. Coach Spurrier, of course, on Mondays, so we'll be here next Monday, and then on next Thursday it'll be Seth Emerson from The Athletic, who's been really following a lot of this stuff. And, there is so much going on with college football right now. In fact, I had Dennis Dodd on the radio yesterday on the tailgate, and he was, he said, and this was really interesting. He said college football became a year-round sport the day of the Urban Meyer when he left the first time. Yeah. And that became such a giant story, and it lasted all, I agree with that. That is kind of when everything seemed to kind of change. But I'm not saying it changed for the worse. It changed for the better. College football all the time. Hey, you know what that's good for? Radio and podcasts. So I love college football all the time. All right, let's get to our Royal Blues starting five, brought to you, of course, by Randy Royal and Royal Blue. Oh, I did want to mention before and again, I don't want to put a negative, and I'm getting ready to talk about Royal Blue because Royal Blue is very positive. I did want to say something about Gene Hackman passing away last night. I don't know what happened there. He's dead, his wife's dead, and his dog's dead. That doesn't sound good. That's either gas leak or triple suicide. I'm not going to speculate. I have no idea. They said they don't know if there's any foul play or not. They're just looking into it. But I love Gene Hackman to death. I mean, Hoosiers is probably my favorite sports movie of all time. And also The Firm and French Connection. And you can go on and on. The Royal Tenenbaums, one of my favorite movies. Anyway, loved him as an actor. But he was 95. Maybe there was some Alzheimer's involved. I don't know. Again, you shouldn't speculate about things like that. All right, let's get to something you can speculate about, which is how good you're going to feel if you go to Royal Blue and get a nice big boat and sail it around the St. Johns River. And Royal Blue is the place to be. All right, let's get to our Royal Blue starting five. And number one is, okay, I'm just going to talk about the basketball game in a lot of ways. Okay, we kind of saw this coming. We knew this was going to be a tough game. We knew Georgia was going to play like a desperate team. I got into a big argument with Jeff about this yesterday, and he said, "Well, do you think UNF's going to beat Florida because they want to play harder and it's a bigger game for them?" No, that's not what I'm saying. They were on this was their last really big chance to win a big game. The rest of their schedule is still pretty good, and they'll be fine. I don't think they're in now just because they won this game. However, they're in now. You know what I mean? There's a difference between are they in now or are they in now? If you're in now, that means you're in. If you're in now, means you could be out tomorrow. They could still go on a bad bender. But look, the bottom line is you can't keep playing with fire like Florida's been doing and getting these terrible deficits and trying and fighting your way back. It goes back to the Missouri game. It goes back to obviously the LSU game. You did come back in that one. And then this game, obviously on Tuesday night, it was unbelievable that they were down 26 points in the first half and yet came back and took the lead. And so you have to decide, do I love the team that came back and took the lead or the team that went down 26 points? But the thing is, they're your team. I saw somebody put on Twitter, I was kind of dumb, if you ask me. Florida's good enough to get to the Final Four and bad enough to go out in the first round. Then they're a 2 seed. And I'm like, well, first of all, none of their things dropped. None of their metrics dropped. And I knew they wouldn't because they were playing a road game against a pretty good team, a team that wins at home. And when you're playing a road game and you lose, even when you lose by 5, your metrics aren't going to change. By the way, for those of you who are wondering, because the TV, and it was good, the TV went immediately to LSU. I'm sorry, Oklahoma, Kentucky. And Florida's game went off the air. And they would have needed a minute and a half for this court storming because, and this is a smart rule that Georgia put in, they don't want to get fined. They don't want to give Florida money. Can you imagine hey, that was such a big win, the fans stormed the court. Yeah, and Florida got $100,000 in NIL money, by the way, just so you know. But it is what it is, but what Georgia did is smart. Is they told the fans over and over. Kirby Smart told them in a thing. Everybody told them when the game was about to be over and they were going to win. Don't storm the court until 90 seconds are up and everybody's able to get off. Brilliant. I think that's a great idea. I think that's what everybody should do. Is if you want to storm the court, storm it when there's nobody that can get hurt. That is important. I'm not saying that the students aren't important, but storm it when you're not going to be running over players and there's no chance anything bad could happen. Storm when the media is not there too. Let everybody get off the court, then celebrate. Okay, so that's what they did, and it worked really well. So they're not going to pay that money to Florida. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is how did they lose this game? Well, all the discussion will be about they were down 26, they came back, blah, blah, blah. But to me, there were 2 plays that decided this game. And one of them was really frustrating to me because when Mike White was over there talking to, I'm blanking on his name. I wrote it down, though, so I would not blank on his name, and that is Blue Cain. When he was talking to him and putting him in the game, I was like, oh, you better cover him, guys. Of course, they knew that too, but they ran a great play and got him wide open 3 for a guy who makes a lot of threes. And that goes from you're up in the game by 2, and I think the Elijah Martin miss free didn't help either. You're up by 2 in a game where you've come back from 26 to you're down by 1. Okay, you're still. I mean, it's still. You got a chance to win the game. And then I thought the little lob pass into congestion to trying to get Condon Clayton through it was just not a good play for that moment at 35 seconds. It's my opinion. And maybe Todd Golden called it. And from that point on, the game was over because all they did was foul and they made free throws. But those, to me, were the two plays that did it. Also, free throw shooting, it's been an up and down problem all year. And a lot of it depends on who's shooting the free throws. Let's face it. We all know this. Yeah, you know what a great free throw shooting team is? When all their great shooters are shooting free throws. You know when it's not good? Is when bad guys who aren't very good, are shooting it. Texas A&M's bringing in a guy here who last night pretended to be fouled. I'm not saying he wasn't fouled, but I'm pretended to have problems, and he got fouled. Maybe he was fouled, but he pretended to have an eye problem, and so he's a 56% shooter. So they took him out of the game. They got to pick who they brought in and made both free throws because anyway, I think you see what I'm saying, or maybe you don't. Look, this was the biggest game of the year for Georgia, and nobody likes to lose to Georgia. You had 112 in a row against them. Let's not forget that, okay? Let's get to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that it's never, and this is one thing I want to talk about is, and I saw my friend Tony Angolini had posted this on Twitter as well, that it's never, people are going to be saying, oh, it's good to get a loss out of the way. Well, and he is like me, you never want to lose. I don't care what the situation is, you never want to lose. Look, if the only way you would accept a loss is if you took your 5 starters and said, we don't want you to get hurt before the tournament, so we're not going to play you in this game. Then you would go, okay, it's not that bad. Kind of what Florida did again when they played Texas in football. Well, they were out, they were hurt. And you see what happens there. But look, Florida didn't go down in the Ken Palm. They didn't go down in the net rankings. We talked about this. They're still, I think, a borderline 1C, but they need to finish strong. You got 3 big games coming up, starting with Saturday against Texas A&M, who also lost last night. But to judge this team based on one game is not right. But it isn't. It is never okay to lose. I never would say, we need to lose a game, and that'll get the minds right. Now, do I think you can learn from a loss like this? And certainly, given up a 22-2 run against LSU the week before, yeah, you better learn something, because you get to the tournament, you give up 22-2 runs, you're probably cooked. Maybe in the first round, and that's the way it works. But again, Florida is still okay. They're fine. 24-4. We didn't think they were going undefeated this year. They're 24-4. Don't forget that. It's a big game against Texas A&M on Saturday night, and game day. That's why game day's here. I'm going to ask Rece if they rethought it because both teams lost on Tuesday and Wednesday. So anyway, let's move along to our next item on our Royal Blue starting 5, which is baseball, which is so far has had a pretty good week. Certainly to win 2 midweek games against in-state rivals, normally you would go, okay, you expect to do that if you're a good team. Well, last year they couldn't do that. They struggled with that, and that was a big factor in them all barely getting into the tournament. And then, of course, they had a great run in the tournament. But, of course, Florida won at Stetson, got no hit for 4 innings, I think it was, and then got some runs going and ended up winning that game 6-1, and we thought that was going to be the score again last night. Well, 6-2. And then all of a sudden, something not good happened, and that was UNF, led by Joe Mercandane and Brad Wilkerson, which was so cool watching them on TV. I should have gone to the game and seen Wilkie, but I think they're coming back for another game, so I'll go out for that one. But anyway, they score 4 runs in the inning, in the bottom of the inning, the top of the ninth. Sorry about that. And just 3-run double in the gap. Those things happen when you walk guys. They went walk, hit by pitch. I mean, come on, guys, you got to be better than that. And then the bottom of the inning, they end up winning the game. They get the freshman Lawson has a leadoff, gets on base. Curlin with the big double. They walk Stripling, and then wild pitch. And look, do I want to win on a walk-off wild pitch? Sure, why not? All it says that is when you're looking up the scores, Florida 7, UNF 6. That's all it says. It's a line drive in the you hit a blooper and you say, it's a line drive in the box score. Of course, are there box scores anymore in newspapers? I don't know. All right. So anyway, baseball 9-0 right now. We know what's coming up this weekend. You're allowed to peak now. You're allowed to peak. I said it was a no peak week, but it's Thursday. You don't have a game today and anything. Well, you don't even the softball. Yeah. You don't have a game. You can peek ahead to the Miami series, Gameday, Texas A&M. You're allowed to do that today. All right. All right. So we'll see how it goes with Florida and Miami. Should be a lot of fun. All right. Let's get to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5. And we want to talk some softball. Christine and Steve Wendig always like to bring you a lot of softball from Bossart Realty because they love their softball team, and they should. Right now, 19-1. That's not bad. Florida, of course, destroyed Florida Gulf Coast last night. Oxley came in, pitched great, one hitter. They run ruled them again. I think it's the 12th run rule Florida's had this year. That's pretty impressive. And they've outscored teams in the first inning 57-5. If you can get through the first inning, you got a chance. That's like the old thing with Glavine. If you could get through the first inning, you had to get him in the first inning, but if you didn't, you were done. You were screwed. But this softball team's pretty impressive. Again, they're kind of like baseball, and like when the competition is about to heat up. I mean, I think it's next weekend they start SEC play. I think I'll look it up at some point. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. Of course, they're starting Friday, the Gator Invitational, Florida Invite, and they play at 5:30 against Sanford. And then I'm not going to give you all the games, but we've got all this stuff going when we'll get to our swamp games of the weekend. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll take a break, and when we come back, the great Rece Davis is going to join us. Can't wait to talk to him about college football and college basketball. And I've got a great yes, no, or maybe for him. He'll like it. Or maybe he won't. I don't know. You never know. All right. We'll be back with more of another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after these messages.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Here are just a few reasons why doing business with the Royal Blue puts you at the helm of your boating lifestyle. 1, the longer we have your listing, the lower percentage commissions you will pay. 2, survey reimbursement for qualified buyers. 3, detail reimbursement for qualified sellers. 4, on-the-water delivery orientation availability. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at the Ponderosa. And it's a great pleasure to bring in our friend Rece Davis, who will be down. And now I want to make sure you guys are still coming because both teams lost this week. So I didn't know if you were saying no, and then maybe we don't want to come.
No, not at all. I mean, I think, Pat, as you know, it's so different with basketball. Sometimes it feels catastrophic in football when a team loses just before game day gets there. But it's a long season. You're going to have hiccups and bumps in the road. And,
Sure.
Florida to me is still a team that might well prove to be the best team in the SEC. Now, I've maintained from the beginning that Auburn is the best team I've seen, and I still believe that to be the case. I know Florida won at Auburn. That was one of the great victories, if not the best win by anybody this season. But Florida's got a lot of weapons, and just because they had a little stumble against Georgia the other night, A&M's a little more concerning. At least in terms of direction they're headed there. They can have great difficulty getting stuck on offense, it seems like at times. So, but I think Florida is a national championship contender, and we're excited to be there.
Yeah, I mean, we all would hope they are. You never know, but I mean, you know how it is, and this is why we have the greatest tournament in the world in college basketball.
The best team doesn't always win. It's a team that that plays the best at the right time at the end. I mean, Alabama is a perfect example of that last year. Now, obviously, they didn't win it, but they went to the Final Four, and that was after they really stumbled down the stretch. Lost a couple of times to Florida. I can't remember the exact number, maybe 4 of 6 or something like that. And they started playing well at the right time and made it to the Final Four. And there are so many teams throughout the history of this tournament that have gone into the postseason as the best team or what seemed to be the best team. And, they face planted. It happens. I mean, that is the one thing you can't account for when you're evaluating this tournament, in my judgment, is how's a team going to handle it when a game is closer than it's supposed to be? You can almost see the anxiety start to build. They think, I can't believe these guys are only 4 points behind us, or I can't believe we're trailing these guys. I've got to make a play right now. And the harder you try, sometimes the worse it gets. And now I think that my gut tells me that Auburn is a team that is well equipped to navigate those things. They're old, and they've also got a guy who sort of fixes all their mistakes in Janai Broome. So I don't think that type of fate will befall them. I think it'll be Auburn or Duke to win the national championship, possibly Florida. I think those, to me, are the 3 most complete teams. So, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen, especially when things get tied in that one and done tournament type scenario.
Yeah, I think we had Jay on a couple of weeks ago, and I think I asked him if he would take Auburn and Duke against the field. And I'll ask you that. I mean, I wouldn't, because it's the tournament. And weird thing, Auburn lost to Yale last year in the first round. You never know what's going to happen.
I think the odds would tell you to take the field, Pat, and I probably would, especially because the field would include in this case Florida, Alabama, Houston, maybe Iowa State, fully healthy. See, I'm not a believer in Tennessee. I think they're a terrific team, but I just wouldn't take them to win the national championship, because I feel like that somewhere along the line, they're going to have a really poor offensive performance.
Right.
It's too hard for them to score sometimes. Now, Chaz Lanier went off last weekend, and he's dangerous. And Zakai Ziegler is a terrific player. But it just seems like that they have too many offensive lulls, and that bothers me about them a little bit in terms of that. Now, could they go on a 6-game run? Of course they could. I mean, they're talented and they're very well coached, and they play great defense. But, I would take the field mostly because it would include those other teams. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. I'm not quite there on Michigan State yet in terms of winning the national championship. Yeah. I like them a lot because Billis coined the phrase, and he's right. They lead the nation in playing hard. Yeah. And this idea from recent years that they can't shoot, people need to go and first check the stats and watch them play. They don't have as many problems offensively as they've had in the past. They've got 3 guys shooting better than 40% from 3. Last Saturday when we were there, LJ Cryer put on a show against Iowa State, undermanned Iowa State, and then it was Milos Uzan in the next game who came up big offensively, and he had a good game too. But they've got Emmanuel Sharp. They've got 3 guys who can score. They've got size inside, and they just play relentless, tenacious defense. So I certainly think Houston is not only a Final Four contender, but they're a team that could potentially win the national championship.
Obviously, this has been a incredible year for the SEC. We
Mhm.
and mainly because of what they did in the non-con. I always tell people what you do in the non-con is you have a beachhead. Then that's your beachhead. This is how good we are, and what you do in Georgia's case. They were 4-10 going to the Florida game, but they were still on the bubble, and now they're probably in. They're in. I like to say they're in now, but they're not in now. Like they're in now, but they may not be in.
Right. Yeah. Work the old work to do column in all of
Exactly.
those in all of the prognostications that you see. Right.
That's going to make for either one of the greatest SEC tournaments ever, or maybe guys go, "Hey, we don't want to get anybody hurt. We saw what happened with Michael Hanlogden last year, and it ruined Florida's postseason, and we want to rest guys." I don't know that happens. I don't know that they don't come out and just play hard and try to win a trophy. But I'm curious what'll happen there in Nashville.
I think the competitive juices will get the best of everybody. I mean, I remember the old Coach K quote, if they're giving out a trophy, we want to win it. And I like that competitive fire and spirit. And I think you'll see that from most, because the coaches in the SEC, I think take great pride in being able to lord it over their peers if they win. If Auburn finishes off the regular season, which it should, they would love to complete the sweep,
Yep.
and say that they won both, and leave no doubt that they are
2 in a row,
the best
yeah.
team in the best conference. Florida, if Florida were to play Auburn, say in the championship game, I mean, how much would the Gators want to be able to put a net in the trophy case and say, "Oh, you think you're the best team? We beat you twice, once neutral, once at your place."
Sure.
So, I think there will be enough of that gets things going. And then some of the other teams you mentioned, A&M kind of needs to get right. Georgia probably needs to not face plant. And, Tennessee, home state, I've questioned their offense, even though I've got great admiration for them. They'd love to hush up anybody who's doing that. So I think it's going to be a wildly competitive environment, and there will probably be somebody coming from sort of back in the pack to make a run in Nashville, I would suspect.
Yeah, it could be A&M. The team is coming in here Saturday.
Could be. Yeah.
You could see them do that. I mean, they've got the talent. Sometimes they don't always play together, but it'll be interesting. But by the way, what do you do between the end of the show and an 8:30 game? Or do you you're going to wander around, go to baseball and softball? I mean,
it all depends. This week is a little bit different because, just for various business reasons, we don't have any duties. We don't have any duties this week. Most weeks, though, we have half times to do, including the halftime of the game where we are. That's not going to be the case in Gainesville this week. But typically you don't have much of a break. You've got a short one, and then you're doing half times until and potential fills of games, which I know this is a novel concept. I don't think this has happened one time all year. If games were to ever run short and not fill the window, you're there for that. So that's the typical day, and this week will be a little bit atypical in that regard.
Okay. Well, there's baseball against Miami going on. There's softball.
I think I'm told that I'm throwing out the first pitch on Friday night for the Florida Miami baseball game. I don't know. I don't know that that's the case. Someone suggested that I was doing that, and my son's a professional baseball player.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know all about
Frontier League. But now I still go to batting practice with him because he's with us for the off season until they report. And I go to batting practice, but like when he was younger, that constituted actually throwing batting practice. Now I just feed, the smash balls into the machine set up at these weird angles and doing crazy things. And I just do this now. And I don't think that's going to suffice for throwing out a first pitch. So I don't know how that's going to go exactly.
I think you need to go to the little league field and just throw some balls against the fence just to get loose. The biggest thing is
it still works.
The biggest thing is throwing off a mound is like you get out there and you go, I don't want to tear an ACL.
Yeah.
Which I actually did one time. So
did you really?
Not throwing out the first pitch, but I had cleats. I wore cleats for the first time and threw and snap.
Mm. Ooh,
I've had a
that's so good.
lot of knee issues, but they're not my knees anymore. They're somebody else's. They just put them in my body. All right. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, and then we'll get to yes, no, where, maybe, which is our fun stuff. I set the over under a while back at 11.5 for Florida. I mean, I'm sorry, for the SEC to get teams in. And look, I know Leonardo's had them at 13, 14 at times, 12. But I keep saying, well, yeah, it's fine right now. It might be that, but teams are going to lose games down the stretch because they're all playing each other. And Texas,
Right. Yeah.
Texas is holding the card. They played 3 of those teams down the stretch here.
Mhm.
So I'm curious how that's going to go. But would you take the over or the under on 11.5?
I think I'd take the over barely. I don't think, I sort of think like you, they're going to knock each other around. We're probably not going to wind up seeing 14 teams. But I think they'll set the record and get a dozen. So now who's going to be that last one, we'll see. And, maybe they'll get 13, but because that's going to happen in other conferences too. And some of the things you mentioned about the non-conference will help the SEC teams who will be sitting there on the bubble on Selection Sunday.
Yep. Rece Davis is coming to us, of course, on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line, and we'll go to our yes, no, where, maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. If you are watching or listening to this podcast and you go into Big Mills and say, hey, I was watching Rece Davis on there, and you just get free fries with your order. How about that?
Nice.
All right. Number 1 on yes, no, where, maybe, there will be 16 teams in the college football playoff in 2026.
No way.
Really?
14? Yeah, it's going to be. I think it should be, but I think it'll be 14 in 26. That's my gut on it. I think there should be 16, and they should play a couple of rounds at home. But I'll say no way and say 14.
Yeah, I think they're going to go up in incrementals of 2 just till we get to 68.
Yeah, let's please hope not. Let's not get there.
No, I don't want to go there either. Number 2 on yes, no, where, maybe, Baby Rece Rutledge is named after you, even though the spellings are different, because Laura Rutledge admires you and what you've done for her whole life. Yes,
that is absolutely true, though she and Josh refuse to admit it, but it's true.
That's the answer I was looking for right there. Yeah. All right. And finally, on yes, no, where, maybe, you know all the words to Dixie Dan Delight.
I can't say. I'll say maybe, because I don't think I know all of them. I mean, I know them, but I'm like, it's like one of those things, where you're singing along, you kind of go, and then you go, oh yeah, that's the lyric. It's like that.
I thought it was like cemented when you go to school there. You get cemented in your brain,
And maybe, you know what, Pat, that's a relatively new thing. That was post really, my 10. Yeah, I mean, I know they've done it for a number of years now, but that wasn't a thing when I was in school there. So it kind of has gone back to it. It's fun though. It's a great. They needed a bit of an anthem. I do think they should re-record it and take the Tennessee Saturday night out of it, because it's not that hard to just say an Alabama Saturday night. They should have them re-record it and do that. It's sort of like, the first time I was in the swamp and they did I Won't Back Down. That's awesome. I mean, those end of the third quarter anthems, and Alabama's is not always end of the third quarter, but, it's like depending on how the game's going and what the right moment to do it is, it's those things are super cool. I mean, I guess the patron saint of all of them is Jump Around, but it's, all of them are a lot of fun.
Yeah, I Won't Back Down is really, it's gotten bigger with every season that's gone on, and now they're doing it in basketball, and they tried it in basketball, and it was almost like the fans went, no, that's a football thing. We're not doing that here. Mm-hmm. But now that they're turning the lights off, everybody's got their phones out, and they've embraced it. This year, it's for the first time again in basketball. So it's great, and it's going to be great to have you in our town, and we appreciate all of that you do for obviously college football, college basketball. I feel like I talk to you all the time, but it's usually me yelling at my TV saying, "Hey, don't let Saban talk anymore." I love Nick. I love Nick on Gameday. He is unbelievable.
How good has he been on there? the way that I've described it is that I knew he would be great. I did not know he would be extraordinary immediately. I mean, he's just been phenomenal. He's a great teammate. He asks questions. He wants to be good at it. He never comes in and says, "Hey, everybody shut up. I've got 7 national championship rings and I'm going to tell you guys how it goes." Not one time. I mean, he's a remarkable human being, and he's been great for the show.
I'm a big fan of his. You can just say, "Hey, look, I got 2 sports Emmys on my wall."
Yeah, exactly. Team. Those are team ones. I keep me, Scott Van Pelt, and Susan Lucci, I believe, are the ones who get shut out of the Emmys all the time. Often nominated, never rewarded.
Well, look, we'll be watching you tomorrow, and say hey to Jay for us. We love him. He's so great on the show as well. But having you,
so you're the one. Yeah. So you're the one that loves Millis?
Somebody introduced him yesterday on a radio show, and they were like, the greatest human being of all time, and one of the best people. And Jay comes on and goes, "You've undersold me."
Yeah, sounds about right.
All right, well, have fun, man. Have fun in Gainesville, and I'll try to get over there and see you. I'm dealing with a foot issue right now. I know my daughter will be there, and she'll be screaming really loud.
Well, please tell her to say hello. I look forward to seeing you guys.
I will. See you later, Rece. Thanks a lot.
All right, Pat. See you.
We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break. Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. You know, the kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. So now's the time to do something about it before spring and summer roll around. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today. Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Appreciate Rece Davis for joining us today. What a great guy he is. It's time for us to get to all of our fun stuff, and we have a great time with our different things that we do. I got so many of them, sometimes it's hard to get them all on the page, but let's start off with our great sponsors, Hesser and Kipke. Of course, you know them very well. If you need any and have any needs in workers' compensation or family law, just call them at 352-339-9920 or reach them at www.hklawfl.com. Ken Hesser, Jennifer Kipke, they do a great job. And we appreciate them for being a sponsor for a long time. All right, let's get to 3 things brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, and that is number 1, which is college football has they had these big meetings on Tuesday and decided we need more information. Now, how can you not have all the information possible when you go into that meeting? It's the first time all the commissioners got together about trying to do something about the seating. The seating is the big problem. We all know that. So the commissioners all meet and they go, we still don't know what we want to do. I'm like, hey, there's a season coming up pretty soon. It's not that far away. You might want to get this seating down, but there is certainly a movement to go just straight seed, which in my opinion is what I think college basketball should do a better job of. They say it's straight seeding, but it's not. It's not, because they'll move teams around to get them so they aren't playing the same team in the conference. I would go 1 through 68 and throw them into the pile and see how it comes out. But anyway, in college football, 1 through 12, that's the way it should be. We don't need Boise State to get a bye. Okay, I'm sorry, Boise State. I really am. To be honest with you, I don't think Arizona State. I didn't even know they had a chance to get into the playoffs until they were in, and then all of a sudden they get a bye. We need to just seed this right, and that's the biggest thing you need to do. However, there is an issue here, and that is that if you make the college football playoff, you get $4 million. If you make the quarterfinals, you get $4 million that your conference does, and then of course, it all comes back to you in some level. Okay. Well, if you get a bye in the first round, you get $8 million. You're guaranteed that money. Your conference is, and I know that the conference are going, well, why do we want to give that up? Because you say so. Now, next year, they're going to say so. The Big Ten and the SEC have total control of the playoffs starting next year. Not this year, though. And what they do this year is going to have a big effect on what happens next year. And we'll just see how it all works out. I thought we would have an answer by now. However, we do not about the seeding, which is certainly the big issue. All right, let's Hesser and Kipke, 3 things. Let's get to number 2, and that is Steve Spurrier Jr. is now an official analyst at the University of Florida. I'm so happy. I mean, I told you guys about this. I think a month or so ago, I ran into him at the gym. I said, "Hey, you're in town?" And I thought he was visiting, but he's moved back here. And I go, "Oh, okay. You're gonna get into Florida." He goes, "Yeah, we'll find out in February." Well, it's the end of February, and we found out. We all knew it was coming, and it's just official, and that's great. Yeah, just having him on the staff. I mean, he knows Ryan O'Hara, of course, the quarterback coach, is played for him, so they know each other really well. It'll be good to have, and that's really a big factor. Look, I know the Steve Spurrier Jr. is a name because of Steve Spurrier, obviously, but he also has been a coach for a long time and has done a great job. I remember him coming in here. He was running. We were going into the games 3 hours before the game, like always, and he was running down Stadium Road. Yeah, running down Stadium Road right past our tailgate, and he stopped and said, "Hey, how you doing, man?" But he's just been a great friend for a long time, and looking forward to what he can do to help Florida football going forward, okay? Excuse me. Let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is that the NFL is saying now we're going to do something different. We are going to track first downs. So in other words, computer-wise, it's not where you spot it anymore. It's what does the computer say? I mean, that is to correct any problems they have. I mean, it might come up twice a year, to be honest with you, and certainly was a huge factor in that Chiefs win over the Bills. But again, that's because 2 referees came in and had different spots, and they saw things differently. And sometimes you do see things differently. Look, it helped the Chiefs, and I was happy, and I understand people getting mad, but it's just the way it works. All they're trying to do here, and it should have been done a long time ago, is say, and to me, the spotting of the football and all of football is so willy-nilly. It's what you think you saw in the split second. And now that you can challenge things, there are reverse possibilities. But anyway, it is what it is, and hopefully, I don't know, this will make the NFL even better. Maybe it won't, maybe it will. All right, that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let us move along and talk about the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Want to bring this up again. and we'll continue to bring it up, and we appreciate them being a sponsor as well. The Gainesville Quarterback Club is knocking it out of the park with their all the speakers they have, and the first three, Billy Napier, Laura Rutledge, Billy Donovan. You can't beat that. Nobody's going to beat that. They've got a special fee, and it's $250, and you can go to all those meetings and decide to become a member. I've heard that they've already increased the membership. It's coming in. People are excited about the speaker, and they don't even know some of the speakers. I've talked about them, but that haven't. They're cemented, but I don't have the dates cemented. But I can tell you, Kevin Carter's going to come speak. Alex Brown's going to come speak. I'm pretty sure Zach Pillar's going to come speak. I know Andy Staples just signed up to come speak. Of course, does a great job covering college football. We've got a bunch of great speakers. Charles Davis is going to come speak. That'll be great. He will be awesome. So we're really trying to have a knock it out of the park quarterback club speaking list. And I'm working hard with these guys because I've got a lot of numbers, but they're working really, really hard to get this. We had a speakers committee meet on this, and it's going really well. And I'm really happy because, look, you know how it is. Memberships, and I hate to say this, but die off, and we lost Uncle Ralph this week, and that was just terrible. We knew that he was not doing well, but he was a Golden Gator. I mean, he was one of the guys who had been around for 50 years in this club. Anyway, and I don't want to say it that way. I'm not trying to be cruel, but people do move on, or they move to another city, you know. So what you try to do is bring in new people, and that's what they're really working on, to get more new people involved with this great speakers gallery that we're putting together. It's going to be, when it's all settled, man, I'm going to look up to it, and I know Mike Floyd is as well, and just take a lot of pride in what we did. And so is Joe White, who is he's in charge over there now. What do you call it? Captain. He's the captain of the quarterback club. All right. Thanks to the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Let us move along to our Adams Ribco. Talk about somebody I want to thank. Adams Ribco, Gator of the Week. I am actually going to go to Adams tomorrow. I decided this. I need to talk to Adam and to Big Mills about the golf tournament, which I'm pretty sure we're just going to postpone. I've got a lot of health issues, and they're all physical. They're not heart, but I'm in a boot right now with my foot. I'm going to have back surgery. We don't need to rush a tournament going forward. And of course, we're dealing with some other issues, you know, with golf courses and stuff like that. Anyway, we love Adam. That's where I was trying to get to. All right, let's get our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. And my Gator of the Week is Cade Curlin. Cade Curlin came up big on Tuesday, and they came up big on Wednesday. Let me tell you what, on Tuesday, obviously, if you listen to the game or watch the game, 3-run homer. I mean, it's a 2-1 game, and Florida's struggling to get runs in. And, you know, he comes up, and on a 2-strike pitch, I think it was a 2-strike, or maybe I'm confusing the double last night. Either way, he had a 3-run homer, and that was huge. And then last night, the double, he had 3 hits, but the double he got in the 9th inning is how they won the game. You got a runner on first. That's great. And appreciate it. But he doubles on, that was on a 2-strike pitch. That's right. And hits a double down the left field line, puts second, third. They walk the next guy, wild pitch, wins the game. Okay. Cade Curlin is certainly deserving. And the great thing about it is, and people knew he was hurt last year. He was hurt all year and played through it. And sometimes you get frustrated with him because he looked like he wasn't swinging the bat well, or he wasn't very good in the field last year, to be honest with you. But he was hurt, and he played through it, and he still was a really good player for Florida, and they went to the College World Series. This year he's healthy. Boy, he is smacking the ball around the park, and he's playing great second base too. I hope I haven't jinxed him for anything. All right, that is our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. Let us move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, brought to you by, of course, my friend Kyle Cohen at Leonardo's of Millhopper. And let me tell you something. I gave you guys a softball last week, or on Monday with the Florida Gulf Coast game. I think everybody got it right. So a lot of you qualified. So I'm going to give you a hard one this week. And then I think we're going to try to go ahead and do a draw the following week, because I just got the Leonardo's gift certificate, $25 at Leonardo's to Rodney Cruz. I just mailed it yesterday, buddy. It's coming, I promise you. But I feel like an idiot because I kind of forgot. But I want to go and get it going where we're doing it a little more often, okay? So here's your Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks, and it's not going to be easy. You have to tell me two things. One, Florida or Texas A&M. It's a tough game, right? Two, how many games does Florida win against Miami? 0, 1, 2, or 3. So you need to send me a email to patrickdooley54@gmail.com and just say Florida 2 or Texas A&M 1. Whatever you do, that's all you got to say. But it's hard. You got to think about it. You got to think about it. Man, I'm not going to give you any advice on this one. How about that? I'm making it really hard, because usually my advice is really good. Sometimes. All right, let us move along to our that is our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Let's move along to our BMI TeleMed smart move of the week. We appreciate BMI TeleMed so much. Okay, we all love BMI TeleMed. In fact, I was hearing from Charlie out there. They just got somebody who listens to the podcast, loves the podcast, and signed up. Somebody from Delano. Is it Delano or Delano? And starting the weight loss journey there. Obviously, you're taking semaglutides, and it's as promised this is something I got from Charlie. As promised, listeners of your podcast receive a 10% discount on our already affordable prices. Prices. All right. So here's what you get from BMI TeleMed. You're receiving a sterile compounded medication that combines semaglutide, acetate, and vitamin B12. That's what I'm not going to try that. All right. Vitamin B12. All right. They legally prescribed the formulation is provided by a licensed sterile compounding pharmacy that operates under strict regulations by the Florida law. Appreciate them at BMI TeleMed so much for being a sponsor of this podcast. And I'm actually having a meeting with them, a virtual meeting with them on Tuesday. And now I'm going to get started back again. I need it now because I've been told stay off the treadmills and stuff because of this foot issue I've got. So I need to. Anyway, thank you so much to BMI TeleMed. All right, our BMI TeleMed smart move of the week, you're not going to like, okay? But you've got to accept smart people. I have a guy who calls a radio show and calls Mike White a C+ coach. I think he's a B- coach, okay? C+ may be a little harsh. But on Tuesday night, he did what he does. If I had to have one play to win a game in basketball, Mike White would be the coach I would get. I would go ask him what to do. He knows how to get inbounds plays. Remember that play with Keontae and against LSU, and it unfortunately the ball left his fingertips 1.2 too late, but it was a great play call, and that's what he did again on Tuesday. With Blue Cain making that 3. And let me tell you what, you go back and watch that tape, there isn't anybody within like 3 feet of him. And I'm not blaming the Florida players. I'm saying that's what Mike White does. He comes up with really great plays. Is he going to win a lot of games for you? He's won a lot this year. He's going to be in the tournament probably. Like I said, they're in now, but they're not in now. And I'm still trying to make sense of what I was saying there. Anyway, so Mike White, unfortunately for Gator fans, is our BMI TeleMed smart move of the week. Appreciate them again. All right, let's get to our Gallo Car Wash sponge of the week. And our sponge of the week is the NFL and how they somehow soak up all of the attention when there's no games on. And we've talked about it before, but it's unbelievable. It's like this year, it's incredible. You'll go on ESPN's and they'll have the list of the biggest stories right now, and the first four will be about the NFL. They have an innate ability to soak up everything, to soak up all of the news cycles, to soak up, and unless you're specifically talking about college football and that's your show on radio or on TV or anything, you're not talking about college. Now, college has made strides because they're becoming more like the NFL in that way, but the NFL is still the king, and it's just amazing to see how they soak it up, and it's pretty great. Look, what is everybody talking about right now? Free agency, where's Matthew Stafford going? Combine, the most boring thing in the world. Yeah, teams that are. I'll get to one of them in just a minute with this, that, and the other. Is another story here. The rule changes they're making. This is what the NFL does. They make it relevant 365. And look, it's not an easy recipe. You've got to have fantasy football. And this is where I hope college football understands. Like, people do play college fantasy football, but it's stupid because you got buys and teams moving and conferences moving and everything. You have no idea what is going on with college football. You go get a guy from Boise State to play wide receiver, and you don't know that he sprained his ankle and stuff. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is when the leagues come together, and maybe we get it to be a 60-team super league that they're the only ones that can play for the championship. That's when fantasy football will be really interesting. And for college, and let me tell you what, I don't play NFL anymore, college fantasy football, because I didn't care about the games, and I probably wouldn't, because I want to care about the game more than my game. But it'd be tempting, man. I wanted to put one together before. You get fantasy football going, you can challenge the NFL. I don't know, you're never going to go over there unless they just screw everything up. Anyway. I went too long on that, but never too long on a Gallo car wash. I can tell you that much. You never get too long on that. All right, let us move to that. This, that, and the other, and which, of course, is brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, our good friends over there, and by Ironwood Golf Course and Dar Shakow Insurance. So we appreciate them for being the sponsor of This, That, and the Other. And I was just talking about how the NFL dominates the news cycle. Big story that came out yesterday. This was that the NFLPA does these ratings. They ask the players, you rate your owner, you rate this, you rate that. And does it matter? It doesn't matter to me, but maybe if it gives you something to talk about, and it gives your fans something to talk about. Okay. So when it came out, that part is that who got the lowest grade? Woody Johnson from the Jets. And I saw that and I went, yeah, you haven't done really well. You got an F. I'm like, yeah, you didn't do very good. You didn't do very good. That Aaron Rodgers thing blew up in your face. I mean, again, I'm not saying getting him was a problem. The guy played 4 plays in the first year. But anyway, it turns out the other on This, That, and the Other is the reason that they got such bad grades is they didn't like the food. Now, I would bet 50% of NFL players can hire their own chef. Okay. I don't think that's a big problem. And I think a lot of them do. But I guess maybe they wanted Chick-fil-A and they got Bojangles. I don't know. But they did let their nutrition coach go which went to Kansas City. I had her name written down, but not here. Anyway, she went to Kansas City, and they love her in Kansas City. And, of course, didn't win a Super Bowl this year, but they love her program. And we've talked about that with Florida. You got to have the right nutrition. You got to have the right food. It's got to taste good, but you also it's got to help your body. Or you could just go to McDonald's all the time, either way. Anyway, that's the other, This, That, and the Other. The food's not good enough. Okay. This is like the old Billy Bean thing where they had to pay for sodas in the A's clubhouse, and he finally got. Who did he get to pay for it? Was it Dombrowski paid for it? I think he did. Anyway. All right, let's move along to our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
All right, there is no mayhem here. There isn't, but this is the coolest thing I saw on the Twitter, and it's probably from 6 years ago or whatever, but somebody posted this. You're playing golf, right? And all your dogs are out there, and you hit a good shot, and you go and you get your bag, and what do? You walk away, and your dogs follow you wherever you go. That man is living the life. But if you're playing behind him, it is a mayhem moment, because those dogs are going to go somewhere. And you don't want to step in it. That's why it becomes a mayhem moment. But it's the cutest thing, man. You gotta love dogs, don't you? Come on, you gotta love dogs. They're the best. Anyway, whoever this guy is, I don't know who it is, but this is a mayhem moment because of what's going on behind him. Anyway, appreciate Hugh Cain, my buddy. Let's move along to our swamp games of the weekend, and I didn't even get into the weeds of all the great college sports and pro sports and everything that are going on. I'm just going to give you the Gator stuff, okay, because there's so much of it. Obviously, game day's here tomorrow. Sorry, they're coming tomorrow, but they'll be doing the show from here Saturday, and go. I know the students. I know my daughter's going to be there. I know a lot of people are going to be there. Have a great time. And then, of course, the Florida game is at 8:30 that night, which is weird because, but again, you can't move it along. You can't say, oh, since game day is going to be there, we're going to move the game up to 2. You just can't do that. I don't know why, but you can't. And that's on the SEC network. By the way, SEC indoor track and field. Let's go, Mouse. Let's get another championship, buddy. Is on the Plus Thursday through Saturday. Okay, if you don't get the Plus, don't listen to this because you're not going to like all this stuff I'm going to give you because almost everything's on the Plus. But SEC indoor track is on the Plus. Thursday through Saturday, it starts at noon. There's another one at 5. Saturday, it's 3 and 5. In other words, they start at 3 and then they start again at 5. Whatever. It's on the Plus. And that's the only place you can watch it. I'll probably try to watch it because I'm hoping at least Saturday. Baseball. Of course, the games against Miami, 6:30, 4:30 Saturday, and then 1 o'clock on Sunday on the Plus. They're all on the Plus. Again, it's good for me, but here's the problem I have is I only can get one TV on the Plus. So if I got my 2 TVs, I can't get them both on. Anyway, women's basketball is it's at Texas Sunday at 2 o'clock on the Plus. Gymnastics is on. Hey, gymnastics is on at 5:45 Thursday. I'm sorry, Friday. And it's on the SEC network. Yay! It's not on the Plus. And when I say the Plus, it is either on SEC Plus or ESPN Plus. All I do is say Florida Gymnastics, and it comes up. So anyway, softball invitational. Of course, we talked about that. They start at 5:30 tomorrow, Friday. It's not on TV anywhere. So you can't watch softball. Go to the games. Support softball. We appreciate that. I think I got it all covered. All this stuff is, but that's what I was talking about last week. We talk about this a lot. We always say, man, what a weekend it's going to be. It's going to be one of the great weekends ever. And well, maybe 2 weeks it'll be even better. And then last week that's what we have. That's what makes it great because not only is Florida good and everything, but they schedule good and look, the SEC is dominating in baseball, dominating in softball, dominating in basketball this year. It's dominant. Not dominating football. Big Ten has got that. That's the only thing they got on us, though. Okay. All right. That's going to do it for another Dooley Noted podcast for today. Appreciate my man, Zach Rothrock, for putting up with me. I had to deal with a lot of stuff today. You have no idea what goes on behind the scenes with him. He's got to deal with a lot of stuff with me. Appreciate Rece Davis for joining us. We'll be back with another show Monday again with Coach Spurger, and then Thursday, Seth Emerson from The Athletic. We'll love talking to him about all the weird things that are going on in football. We'll be back then until Monday. I am Pat Dooley. I am deep way back, and I am out of here.